Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with JLA Avengers. The being known as Krona has been destroying entire universes in search of a secret truth, until he encounters the Grand Master. He and the mysterious Metron swapped universes briefly to have each reality's champions search for powerful artifacts, one of which, the Ultimate Nullifier, was already retrieved by the Justice League. As the two teams came at odds over a palpable atmosphere of distrust, the Grand Master hinted at a larger game at play.
The cover is pretty straightforward. World's finest fighting Earth's mightiest, including some of each team that haven't had the pleasure of cross-dimensional travel in the story yet. What's interesting is that despite all this activity from so many characters, and that it's also raining, it never feels crowded or confusing. Excellent work by Perez and Smith. After a recap on the inside cover, we're jumped back a little to when Grandmaster first encountered Krona. Then even further as the latter explains his scientific interest in the secrets of creation. He'd even sent time probes to investigate the Big Bang, even glimpsing what's known in DC as the Hand of Creation, but this caused explosive backlash. As punishment, and in fear of a legend about destruction upon learning these truths, his fellow Owens, that's right, the space smurfs that started the Green Lantern Corps, let him stay immortal, but only as disembodied energy to harmlessly roam the universe forever.
Yeah, because that doesn't sound more cruel than a quick execution or some manner of rehabilitation.
Turns out there may be some truth to those old legends, because not only did Krona manage to travel to other universes, his investigations have always led to their destruction. And he ain't even sorry about it either. His quest for knowledge seems more important to him, and he'll give it another million tries if need be. According to Krona's dialogue, the power of those he's destroyed is now his, so I guess he gets stronger with each universe he kills? NY Gast, not wanting his reality to be destroyed since that's where he keeps all his stuff, offers a challenge, one that will grant the name of a being who was around before the Big Bang.
So not only can Krona reform himself, he can snuff out entire realities by asking questions and not getting an answer. This is harmless disembodied energy? Have Owens just always stunk at everything they do?
After a splash page of Kismet, DC's more feminine-looking cosmic being, we get a two-pager of the League and Avengers clashing. And I don't think it's hyperbole to say it's a sight to behold. Where else are you going to get Aquaman holding his own against Iron Man? And come on, Hawkeye, Flash knows Green Arrow and has a nemesis called Captain Boomerang. No way a boomerang arrow is going to work. Batman stands between Captain America and his shield, and the two engage in some calculated grappling. And since they don't seem to acknowledge ever meeting each other before, I think it's safe to say the DC versus Marvel crossover may just be ignored here. Tough break for Axel Asher. The two strike, but with little force, more testing one another than anything else. Eventually, Bats admits the possibility of Cap beating him, though it'd take a while, and Cap admits he doesn't really want to try defeating him, as he's realized they're just pawns in someone else's game. They decide to let everyone else keep fighting while they go and investigate on the sly.
Yes, we'll work together to find out who's manipulating us. What about your crack about us being fascist dictators? We'll find those villains in no time. So no acknowledgement whatsoever that you ever said, "For America!"
And I guess no need to inform your friends and colleagues. Wanda has a bit of trouble using her chaos magic, until she manages to tap into the DC's wellspring. But it's so much more powerful than she's used to, it causes a massive shockwave, knocking back both teams. Realizing she can also detect the location of the items they need, she transports the Avengers away before the League can stop them. When Aquaman notes that Batman and Atom are missing, Superman wants to split up to look for them. Martian Manhunter disagrees, prioritizing the Avengers since they now have powerful magic on their side, on top of looking for items that could cause universal havoc. But I think his time with Mystery Incorporated just soured him on the idea of splitting up. Their errant allies are resourceful, so the League must seek the other items of power, while he telepathically calls in past and reserve JLAers to look after their world's native totems. As people gather around, Aquaman gets his kingly authority on, advising that while they head to the other Earth again, Flash stays behind to rally their forces. Wally's clearly still sore that he has no speed in that other universe, but promises Kyle to get his Green Lantern battery from his apartment when he's done spinning in circles for them. And the League's return does not go unnoticed by the Avengers back on their native Earth. They're back.
You know, it's happening so often lately, I kind of wish Tony had picked a less annoying noise for the alarm system. My vote would have been for the Star Trek computer voice.
The League arrives in the Marvel version of Metropolis, a wide-open field along an interstate. Quite the contrast. Superman does a quick scan, noticing the planet is smaller, there's less urban development, and figures it's just a backwards reality, which Wonder Woman calls him out on. No time for sensitivity training, though, as they split into 3 pairs. Supes with GL, Diana with Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter with Plastic Man, to the former's annoyance, and to my delight. Meanwhile, Wasp has contacted other Avengers, told them where to expect trouble, and leaves with Yellow Jacket after the less experienced triathlon monitors things from the mansion. Wally heads to Kyle's place to get his battery, only to be incapacitated by Iron Man, detecting the speedster thanks to the Mother Box upgrades. Hawkeye, holding the battery, takes time to gloat and exposit that Wanda can instantaneously send them where they need to be, and the Avengers vanish before Wally can tackle them. Oh man, Kyle's gonna kill me.
Well, even if he did, you'd just come back in about a year, thereby making her death utterly pointless, so I don't see why you should get so worried about it.
The two arrive in the Himalayas sans power battery, not knowing it and the ultimate nullifier have been whisked away by the Grand Master, who notes the score is tied. Superman and GL arrive in Santo Rico, noting how the Marvel Earth lacks some of their own countries, but has unique ones all their own. Superman, continuing to cast shade on this reality, looks at a damaged and graffiti-covered statue of Giant Man, and figures this is what the alleged heroes get for not being inspiring, just as Wonder Man and Warbird arrive.
Yes, we know that Superman would never have a statue of him get defaced and be accused of not being inspiring. Great, now I gotta clean that up. Where did I leave that flamethrower?
The twins Maximoff peruse the Flash Museum, Wanda's dialogue more jagged, and Pietro intrigued by the Speed Force, wondering if he can tap into it too. But their tour comes to a halt when Black Canary, Blue Beetle, and no-color prefix Hawkman swoop in. Parallel to this, Wonder Woman and Arthur arrive in Asgard, in a nondescript way, similar to how Diana gets to Mount Olympus. Too complex for mortal minds, so the writer doesn't have to explain it. Lucky! But they soon encounter She-Hulk and Hercules, the latter of whom Wendy takes an instant disliking to, since her own mythos makes him a villain to the Amazons, and she doesn't seem to care what this Herc has to say about his relationship with his world's Hippolyta. Additionally, on this 2-page spread, Superman incapacitates Warbird, Hawkman nets Scarlet Witch while her brother is felled by a sonic scream, and She-Hulk compliments Aquaman's strength, and looks, despite how outmatched he is.
Sheesh! A Witchblade-possessed Wonder Woman says she'd take him as his consort, and now Hulk's cousin is flirting mid-battle. What am I missing? Is it the hook hand? Because I can make that happen.
Ow, my foot! How'd I hit my foot? Anyway, Wonder Man almost overwhelms Lantern until Supes tosses him aside so they can get the Orb of Ra. Arthur wriggles free from the gamma-powered lawyer to enter a temple with a convenient well, where he obtains the Eternity Book. All this while Wonder Woman was seeking revenge for her mom on the alternate world version of the guy responsible. Because that seems rational. Quicksilver wakes up to find their opponents knocked out by Wanda, who struggled to control the corruption of this world's chaos magic is taxing, but she says she'll endure. They get the Wand of Watum, leaving the score 3-2 in DC's favor. The game is moving too slowly for Krona, but Gast notes that certain intricacies exist, such as how two players have removed themselves from the board. Those two happen to be in the Batcave, where Steve Rogers is probably taking in some eerie parallels looking at Jason Todd's enshrined Robin costume. You lost a partner? I did.
Did he come back to life? Yes. Take on a new identity and attack you? Yep. Did he get a cyborg arm? No. Well, 2 out of 3 is pretty close.
Oracle informs them that Zatanna's working to trace the Scarlet Witch's magic, and other heroes have been dispatched to collect the artifacts. It makes sense that the Grand Master is involved, but Bats notes how Metron is more of an explorer, not one for games like this, so his involvement is rather odd. Speaking of, he's watching Galactus take a lava dip, which I guess is part of his feeding process of an entire planet. Metron isn't quite convinced the rules of Gast's game will keep Krona in check, but he'll have to wait and see. Back at the cave, Cap notes how Grandmaster levies steep penalties against quitters of his games, and Bruce suggests they act while both cosmic gamblers are concentrated on their little bet. To that end, Steve activates a homing beacon, preceding a portal, neither of which Batman is happy about. And who would arrive but the Thing of the Fantastic Four, on a crazy-looking hover cycle.
Ben Grimm is getting in on the ground floor of a game-changing rideshare app. Interdimensional Uber.
It's actually a time bike, which Reed Richards, explaining over video chat, managed to program with wavelengths based on analysis of Metron's activity on Monster Island back in issue 1. These are part of some wheels set in motion before the Avengers showed up in Metropolis. And while I don't know why, it's really fun how Ben is being so sociable with Batman, talking his pointy ears off, and not really letting him get a word in edgewise before teleporting back to the Baxter building. And while I don't think Bat's saying he has a rough-edged charm is necessarily a knock against Ben, it's cool for Cap to mention the respect he has for the blue-eyed lug.
It doesn't seem like he was making a remark about Ben's appearance. And let's be honest, Bats is never at his best when he's criticizing the looks of someone that can't change how they look.
Though at first seeming to be just 2 separate pages as normal, there is a parallel between the events in the Himalayas and the Watchtower, so it could be argued you could still read it left to right like normal instead of just first page then second page. But I digress. While Wanda continues to contend with chaos magic, becoming more pale in the process, Tony thinks they're relying too much on magic, and wants to try utilizing the Mother Box. And Pietro still wants to harness the Speed Force. Uatu continues to creep out the Leaguers, so much so that Firestorm can't get comfortable enough to use the bathroom, while Zatanna scans chaos magic fields, wanting the teleporters ready if the Scarlet Witch uses her powers again. Steel has rigged up a harness that Wally can use to collect ambient Speed Force energy and utilize it should he need to pop into the other universe. As Superman and the others realize that something bigger must be going on, with the artifacts switching between worlds, Wanda teleports her comrades, and Zatanna alerts them to head out. Thor finds a windstorm he can't manipulate, probably because its source is Red Tornado. Fellow android Vision figures he can simply phase through and disable the Leaguer, but there seems to be something more that prevents him from doing that, something that overwhelms him. Firestorm, having already obtained the Bell Jar Wheel combo platter of artifacts, ensnares the Odin Sun in an atomic containment sphere, and they're off. And let's find a big belly burger restroom before I burst!
Since Firestorm is comprised of 2 people, could he split apart and only have to go half as badly?
Jean and Plastic Man are respectively fighting Yellowjacket and Wasp in Wakanda, and when it goes a little longer than the Martian would like, he telepathically attacks the insect-themed heroes into unconsciousness. Now they're ready to find the next artifact, the Medusa Mask, which has already been nabbed by Black Panther, watching from the treetops. 1 more point for Marvel. One thing I found odd in this page was this gradient rectangle. It seems more like a comic panel within a comic panel, but I think it's supposed to be part of the palace structure, despite how aesthetically tangential it seems to be compared to the tan and gold and blues around it. Another 2-pager is topped with Cap and Bats investigating one of the universes destroyed by Krona, and they pick up an energy trail that may lead them to Metron. After Hawkeye and Iron Man retrieve another artifact, Tony decides to go out on his own briefly. On Paradise Island, Wanda is looking more and more like the less appealing-looking kind of witch, while her brother almost makes off with another artifact, until Flash takes it from him. Within the blue area of the moon, a spot in the Marvel Universe where it has a breathable environment, Wonder Woman and Green Lantern manage to one-up Photon and Quasar, until Iron Man boom tubes with a surprise attack, allowing his cosmic comrades to grab the Spear of Destiny, tying the score again.
Man, this inter-reality conflict better not run long and preempt Bob's Burgers. It's a new episode, you monsters!
The burgeoning detective agency of Wayne and Rogers, like that guy that played Trapper John on MASH. Okay, that's too obscure. Anyway, Bats and Cap arrive at the Grand Master's game room. It kind of looks like the den of a comic book-obsessed gambling addict. All it needs is that old X-Men arcade game and a Spawn-themed pachinko machine. The Atom drops in, a little frazzled by his stay since hitching a ride on Metron's chair, and leads the pair to a monitor where Grandmaster is recording his game. He plays a live feed of Marvel's Antarctica, where Aquaman notes to Superman how these alt-world heroes may seem weaker by comparison, but they persevere with the odds severely stacked against them, so they fight even harder to even things out. Soups, still being a grouch for some reason, thinks they may not be fighting hard enough, which Adam tries to explain to Cap with the old, what he really meant was, but Steve would rather just carry out his mission. So Adam rewinds the footage to the part where he really wanted to go. Guess we really needed that awkward moment. He plays the meeting of Grandmaster and Krona, verifying the stakes of their wager. If Krona wins, he'll get the name of the being that has the info he wants, and can seek the answers even if it destroys the universes. If he loses, he leaves the Marvelverse alone. Krona agrees on the condition that they swap champions, meaning the Avengers would be working on his behalf. Grandmaster begrudgingly accepts, and Cap realizes his team has to lose in order to save their reality.
Good thing this wasn't settled at the box office, or we'd be dead by now. Right, Batman? Batman?
On the popular tourist hotspot Apocalypse, a few heroes from each quarreling team see Darkseid wielding the Infinity Gauntlet. You know, that thing that can reshape reality to the wearer's whim. Way to copy Marvel, DC! Though, on the plus side, according to Desaad's quick analysis, the gauntlet is powerful, just not in their reality. So, given his other pressing matters, Darkseid tosses it away, and throws in his Omega beams free of charge. Flash outruns Quicksilver to narrowly grab the glove before being struck, and one big teleport later, both teams are in the Savage Land. Scarlet Witch is back to normal, since she's back in her own reality, and floating above them all is the final artifact, the Cosmic Cube. Another big ol' melee breaks out, arrow to arrow, magic to magic, alien powerhouse to Nordic powerhouse, Wonder Woman to Wonder Man, because why wouldn't they have that matchup for at least one panel? And while I know zip about the character Photon, I do think it's cool that after her first fight with Green Lantern, she used that experience to match and absorb his energy. It's one element that helps keep things interesting while Thor and Superman exchange callous remarks about each other's reality. When the Asgardian tries slamming Mjolnir on Soups, he catches it, holding back the intense power before dealing a massive right hook. Other Avengers watch in shock as the Thunderer falls to the Kryptonian's attack. Superman remarks that Thor may be the single toughest opponent he's ever faced.
What about Doomsday? You know, that creature you fought until both of you were dead?
The heavier-hitting Avengers, She-Hulk, Hercules, Iron Man, etc., played dogpile on the Kryptonian, battering him mercilessly in Thor's name, until Aquaman knocks them aside with a local sea monster, though Soups is already unconscious. Kyle Rayner has the cosmic cube in his sights, but is too weak and low on power to put up a defense. So he takes a gamble, recites Hal's oath, which is just the Green Lantern oath, but maybe there's some nuance I'm missing here, and absorbs the power from the cube, which he finds rather intense, realizing there's more to the item than he figured, though he may need to change his name to the Chrome Lantern. And Photon's having fun with his Green Lantern energy, so fun power boosts all around! Before Kyle can claim the final artifact, boom! Intercepted by Warbird. She's got the ball cube inside the ball. But what's this? A steal by the Flash! Unbelievable! But what's this? Despite his harness being on an alternate Earth, Flash isn't quite fast enough because Quicksilver comes in with a steal. And now he's gloating about being faster, mocking the Speed Force, and it's this kind of showboating that's going to turn people away from watching two realities worth of heroes fight each other to the death. Everyone's pausing. Is that a referee?
Excessive celebration by Quicksilver. Penalty to the Marvel Universe. Point and continued existence goes to DC.
It's Krona and Grandmaster deciding that the score is tied, but what's this? Captain America's mighty shield knocks it from Pietro's hand and, unbelievably, right into Batman's.
Did I just see that? Handing the ball over to the other team. What an upset, ladies and gentlemen. Do you believe in confusion?
Before any Avengers can retaliate, Cap orders them to stand down, so Batman can use the cube, but that's not what that's for. So Grandmaster just adds it to the DCU tally and tells Krona he lost and be along his way. And just to show you the kind of good sport he is, Krona energy blasts Grandmaster, insisting on getting the information he's wanted anyway. When he starts eye blasting gas in his eyes to get the information from his mind, both teams are rallied to separate them. Superman asking if Thor is up for a fight, and Thor basically responding, "If you can, I can." And I find that kind of awesome. Gleaning the name he wanted, Krona somehow manages to conjure up Galactus, much to his unwelcome surprise. As the heroes try to pierce an energy barrier that contains the Titanic forces, Krona demands Galactus spill his guts, but for some reason neglects to be specific with what he wants to know, and is thus dismissed as a madman. Unsatisfied, he begins attacking the Planet Eater, quite effectively, continuing to demand answers he technically hasn't asked yet. What a universe-destroying putz. The Grand Master, however, reveals that the items of power were actually for him to use, and at his whim, he, Krona, Galactus, the heroes, and Color itself are all sucked into a vortex, leaving a white nothingness behind.
Join us next time on Turner Classic Movies. Anyway, we're halfway through the story, and it's taken quite the turn, hasn't it?
I really liked the pacing here. It was very well maintained from the first issue. Nothing felt unnecessary to the plot at all. Some seeds of rivalry are sown here, mostly between Flash and Quicksilver, the latter of whom seems adamant to be faster than the fastest man alive. A little bit of Thor v Superman, Dawn of Whose Earth is Better, and a dash of Hawkeye maybe wanting to outshine Green Arrow for some reason, but nothing beyond a brief bit of dialogue. I liked the stop at Apocalypse, where Darkseid had a brief cameo. He still felt very commanding and threatening, even if he didn't do all that much.
I also noticed that the League almost immediately realized Batman and the Atom were missing, while no one on the Avengers seemed to question where Cap was. Maybe that'll lead to an awkward moment next week. Or not. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.
Excelsior!